Anthony, I'm back in the office and I can still smell the paint. It's going straight to my head. So if I'm a little loopy, it's the painter's fault.
Well, your backdrop is Northwell Health, so I didn't know you were a doctor. Your office is in the doctor's office today?
Well, I'm thinking about switching from hospitality to healthcare, but we'll learn more about that any second.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Anthony Melcuri, star of No Vacancy?
I'm doing well. Do we have a show tomorrow? Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. Do we have a show tomorrow?
No, tomorrow's Christmas Eve. It's Christmas Eve of Christmas Eve. So we do have a show tomorrow, our last blockbuster show before the holiday.
All right, just so I understand. All right, so I never asked you, how was your Hanukkah?
My Hanukkah was like it is every Hanukkah. We complain that it's too early or that it's too late, and then we forget to light the candles a few nights, but the kids got some gifts, so everybody is happy.
What would the holidays be without stress, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. But the thing is, we got my son Ben an acoustic guitar, and it is so great to hear it. The tone of it is so beautiful. So he's a happy boy.
That's great. That's great. There's nothing like hearing your kids kind of get into something they really enjoy. So what I really enjoy is I enjoy Chris Green. I know he's on the show today. So
yes,
I was really excited about about Chip being here yesterday and all that knowledge he gave me so I can use on TMZ, which I was going to be on yesterday. I'm 1 minute from going live and they canceled me. So
I was just about to ask you how that went. That's
but I'm rescheduled to 2:00 today, so it's all good.
Oh, that's good. At least it's not like a Twitter canceling, which they want to make you.
And what I'm really excited about, we have Chef Bruno Tison on today, who I worked with at the Plaza Hotel in 1990, 1991. And the last time I saw him, he was standing in the kitchen with his arms folded like this, the cleanest kitchen you've ever seen in your life. And again, if you've never been to a big hotel kitchen, I know you have, it is a huge operation. It's like a military operation. And he was the most, and I was just maybe out of the military 5 years. So I was used to that style, but a lot of people weren't. He was an intense guy. So we're going to have him on today because he left hospitality, left the hotel business to go into hospitality and the healthcare business. And he's running something really big and just, I find it fascinating. And so I asked him to be a guest on our show, and we'll get to him right after Chris.
We will. That's why I'm not out in front of Northwell Health today. But we'll get to that in just a second. Let's welcome friend of the show, our regular friend, our fan. We're a fan of his, I should say. I don't know if he likes us any, but we like Chris. Here he is right now, Mr. Chris Green. Merry Christmas, Chris Green.
Oh, I was just getting notified my favorite show was on here on LinkedIn, but I didn't realize I was going to be here today.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I didn't realize you're going to be here either. But you know what you could do when you're opening a hotel, Chris?
What's that?
Or one of your hotels now. We work with a company called Best Buy. And you know that Best Buy can actually fill a lot of your needs. And Glenn's going to tell you all about it.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Thank you for reminding me. bestbuy.com/hospitality. Go check them out. That's why companies use them all the time. Because why? Of the incredible Geek Squad out there. They can help bring in all of these new TVs, get rid of all the old stuff, because customers are going to be using your guest room more than ever in the future. You want to make sure they got that in-room entertainment. And the centerpiece of that is what? Beautiful giant television screen. Let bestbuy.com help you out with more than 4,000 Geek Squad agents. All right.
Well, those guys, they do a good job and they got tremendous buying power. So it's a great option for people in our business to use Best Buy Business.
Green, talk about buying power. What are we going to buy with all the money that the hotels are going to get now?
We're going to keep the hotels open. So we're going to buy time. That's what we're going to be buying.
So what was be honest with me, what was your real reaction when you saw all the things in the bill? I know we didn't get everything we wanted, but how did you feel overall? On a scale of 1 to 10.
Extremely grateful. I know that, like all other management companies, we're reviewing cash flows of all our owners weekly. And we're looking at, coming into property tax season and cash crunch is even worse. And we're going through the slowest time of the year. So this really couldn't have come at a better time. And I know that Chip was on yesterday. I watched yesterday. Chip does a great job explaining it, but his team worked super hard. And I'm thankful because this is just the right timing to get this done, to give a little bit of breath of fresh air. The extension on renegotiations for debt into the end of next year too, and that plan is amazing. It's going to help a lot of people because we were getting to an inflection point, quite frankly, where all the good had run out and it was getting to be a little bit dark. So,
yeah. But you said something being thankful. I'm thankful every day of my life. So I don't mean to sound not thankful, but it's hard to feel thankful when this should have been done months ago and people shouldn't have been in this position. So it's like you sent me to my room and you punished me for 0 infraction. And now because you're taking me out and you're letting me go out in the backyard and play, I'm supposed to be excited and happy. Well, I went to jail for no reason. Yeah. And that's how I feel with all my friends in the restaurant and hotel business and myself and seeing my clients. It's just not fair. And so, yeah, we should be thankful that they got their head out of their butts, but it's just a shame that you guys had to go through that pain.
Yeah. Well, Anthony, it took way too long, and I know it did, but at this point, I didn't want anybody going into the end of the year not knowing what the beginning of the year was going to look like. So, but you and I are the same. I mean, I'm grateful, but it could have been done a long time ago. It would have helped us a lot more. It would have bridged a lot of concerns. It could have cleaned up a lot of things. But I will say that when they did get this one done, other than the liability issues, but Chip kind of addressed those yesterday. There's a lot of states that are addressing those, but they got a lot of things done. They increased the amount that you can use towards expenses. They added PPE. They extended the time frame to calculate the payrolls. They lowered the threshold on payroll to expense ratio. They increased the tax deductibility. There's a bunch of things that they did do and get right that they learned from the first time. So even though it wasn't perfect, it's better than the first time, and it's going to help a lot of people get through.
And it gives us a lifeline.
When you're thinking about this lifeline, part of it, of course, is the payroll protection plan that was extended. You can now get 3.5 times what your payroll was. I think Chip believed it was to what your payroll was last year at this time. So, Chris, I got to ask you, does that change how you're going to approach bringing people back? Or does it just allow you to keep people on staff longer, or maybe a mix of both depending on markets?
It's probably going to just be keeping our people on, quite frankly. We'll probably add some back, but remember, when I say it's at just the right time, we are literally going into the traditionally slowest months ever in hotel business, regardless of COVID or not. So these next 3 months are the worst. March is normally one of the better months, and then October is a great month. But right now, unless you're a resort on the beach, things are slow. So this is going to help owners to make those ends meet through the time. I talked about, like you said, a lifeline to April. We need a lifeline to April until the vaccine has gotten some traction and people keep traveling. So
combining the spirit of that with what you expect for the rest of the year, Michael Weinberg is interested. What about hiring sales professionals, getting them back on so that way you can have business when business is back?
So we're probably counterintuitive on that. We've been hiring our sales back. We added back in some major markets because we've seen opportunity remember, we're mostly full service group houses and we need to be the first ones back. That's our goal. So we've actually put a few people on ahead of time to get our sales volume up going into the next year. And it's working. I mean, in a couple big cities, our pace is double right now.
And now the timing is people are starting to think about it. And you want salespeople when people are starting to think about it. And the last thing you want to do is miss a phone call because those phone calls are few and far between, but they could be very profitable.
Well, right now, a lot of our peers are not answering. So if we answer, we got a 99% shot at getting the business, right?
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So a lot of it is just being there and being actively engaged, and that'll get you over the hump, hopefully, in the future. Is there anything that you would have liked to have seen in the bill that wasn't included that maybe will be included later on? Of course, one of the points was, I totally blank on the word, but you not being accused of creating the COVID in your hotel and giving it to people. Liability, sorry. 12 states, I think Chip said yesterday, have passed rules about that. What would you like to see happen on a national level, or at least in the states that you're engaged in?
I mean, that's the biggest issue that was left hanging out there, really, was the liability. Because I mean, it's impossible. And I think Chip said it well yesterday. The chance that somebody's going to be able to say, I got it at your hotel. I mean, because remember, they traveled to your hotel,
Right.
they got there somehow, they were in a Uber. It's more about the pressure that it creates, the nuisance lawsuits. And that's what they're trying to really get rid of. That you just can't make these nuisance lawsuits show up and demand payment. So that's the biggest thing that's out there, really. And so if they can get that fixed, which I think they will, that would wrap it up for me. And honestly, I feel like this is going to be the last time I probably shouldn't. I feel like we can get out of it with this round. I really do.
Hopefully. Let me ask you one question before we get to Chef. The $300 direct payment to the unemployed. So you're going to get your unemployment check plus $300. Is that a good decision, or should they have gotten zero, or should they have gotten the $600?
I mean, I think they got to get something. I mean, because the people that it's going to, listen, it's too difficult to quantify exactly who's going to, I mean, the government's too big, but for all my people that are still out, I want them to get something, because it's not their fault that we're shut down. This is just, there's just no way, and I can't bring them back. I don't have any volume to bring them back. So I'm glad they're getting something. And at this point, I mean,
the 600 was too much because it was keeping people from going to
work.
It
was 600 was too much. 300 is fair on top of what they're getting from the states. I think it's, but then again, I don't know everybody else's budget. So I hope that it gets them through. And I want you to know I'm talking to you. I'm not saying 300 is enough or making that decision. I'm just saying I'm glad you're getting something, because right now I know everybody's hurting, and there's a lot of people that are hurting.
Chris, this is the last show of the year.
Wait, hold on. Before we get into that, a very important question has come through. Maybe the most important one we've ever asked you, Chris. What's going on with this square pizza empire you're building at Chesapeake?
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Steve. So Chesapeake, we own 7 Lido pizzas in the Washington, D.C., greater Baltimore area. If you don't know what Lido Pizza is, I won't spend too much time, but it's a long-running franchise pizza and fast casual dining concept. It's about 100 assets there in the D.C. area. We own 7 of them. We just bought our 8th, and we bought the original, which is right at the University of Maryland, right in downtown College Park, Maryland. And we're going to restore it to its heyday and operate the flagship for that company.
Holy cow. I think I ate there back in my Maryland days.
Yeah, you probably did, right across the street. So, I mean, one of our partners runs that division, does a great job with it. And it's actually been a real blessing. It's pretty neat to think about the skills we learn. I know you're going to be talking about transitioning to healthcare. But right when the pandemic occurred, we took our e-commerce people and our digital people and we pointed them towards our restaurant. And they did a great job. Our operations team, our sales were up this year. We did, pick up at the curb and takeout. And so the restaurants have crushed it. So it's good pizza.
Fascinating. And speaking about going into the restaurant business, I know we're going to be focused on healthcare today, but check out our show last week with former Hilton executive Jim Holthauser, who's now CEO of Focus Brands. And they have brands such as Moe's, they've got McAllister's, they've got Carvel, Cinnabon, and you can learn all about the opportunities in that side of the business. So
it's interesting that former Hilton guys are running all these restaurants now. Paul Brown's running Arby's and a bunch of others, and then Jim Holthauser's running Focus Brands.
Don't forget Steve Joyce, formerly of Choice, is running the IHOP company and Applebee's and all those guys.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So Chris, end of the year. Before I want to thank you so much for being such an integral part of this show and being such a big supporter of us. It's hard to believe that we started this thing back in earnest in March as this crisis was coming, and now we're at the end of the year. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for being an important part of this show to give us the ownership perspective throughout the year. Anthony, do you have anything that you want to say to Chris before we let him say something?
In the beginning of this, before we really got our training wheels taken off, you were like really our touch point of what was going out in the field. And so, now it's grown. Now you're able to come on when you're able to come on. So you've become still a partner. But in the beginning, I don't want to ever forget, and I want to pay tribute to, in the beginning of this, like you were really our lifeline to what was actually happening. So you've been a great partner and truly appreciate it and look forward to working with you for until next year.
I just want to say, Chris is not going away. It's just the end of the year, so we just want to show a little love.
You guys don't, I mean, Glenn knows because he's been to a couple of our company conferences, but you're going to make me get choked up. So, I feel like we've grown our relationship between me and you guys, and it's been an honor to be here for sure and talk about the business that I love so much. And I see the names flashing in the comments that I recognize all of their names, Brenda and Mike and Daniel, people that we've seen commenting all year. I just want to say to all of you that you mean the world to all of us. You mean the world to me. This business means the world to me. I just got off my all-company year-end call, and I got quite choked up because I flashed a picture of 100% of our team that is still intact from March. And, wow, it's going to choke me up right now. But, I mean, this has been a difficult year, guys, and we all know that. But the emotion of it all and the intensity of it all is only superseded by our love for what we do and love for others, right? Caring and serving others. So from me to you two, and then to the rest of the viewing population that's loved this show and counted on this show, thank you. You've supported us more than you'll ever know, and me personally more than you'll ever know. And it means something. And when we come back, I can't wait to celebrate with you all. And I look forward to being part of the show as long as Glenn and Anthony will have me. I love it. And it's my pleasure to be here. So,
Chris, I'll just say this: leadership matters, and it's obvious that you live that every day, because leadership does matter. And the person sitting in your seat mattered for your company, and I guarantee you, your company wouldn't be in the shape it is if there's somebody else sitting in your seat. So, thank you for everything you do for Chesapeake. Thank you for everything you do for the hotel business, and thank you for what you've done to us. Now get the hell out of here.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Merry happy holidays, Chris. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2020 and a half. See you then.
Well,
love you, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Love you, buddy. All right. That was awesome. So great to see our friend Chris Green here. So now let's make that smooth transition from hospitality to healthcare with Mr. Bruno Tison. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Very well, actually. Good afternoon, everybody.
So I got a question. I got to start off with this question before we get into this. The last time you saw Anthony, I understand, was 1991. What was his hairstyle back then?
He doesn't remember me. He was a chef in charge of the biggest hotel in the city. I remember him. Right, Chef?
I agree. Anthony is right. I don't remember. I don't even remember if he had still hair in those days.
So first of all, is it okay if I call you Chef?
You can call me Chef. You can call me Bruno.
Right. So let me give a little bit of a background of why you're here, and then you can give a background of give your whole history. So basically, I worked at the Plaza Hotel back in 1990. In 1990, 1991, and then Bruno stayed, or Chef stayed, for many years after that. It wasn't an easy place to work for many reasons. Financially, just a lot of union issues, just a lot of stuff. And he was the first chef I ever knew that worked in a big organization. So really, to that point, I've never seen a real executive chef in a real kitchen. I've worked at the Embassy Suites where we did breakfast in the morning. So it was just me and a couple of guys putting breakfast out. But I've never seen this type of organization. And here he was in his whites, tall, good-looking guy with the dark hair. And he didn't play. He was very nice, but he didn't play. He had a job to do. And again, you have to remember, he's running banquets for the biggest people in the world. Matter of fact, I think you ran the banquet for the wedding of Donald Trump and Marla Maples, right? That was you ran
yes,
that
wedding. One of the celebrity wedding I did.
Yeah. So Eddie Murphy, did you do the Eddie Murphy wedding?
Eddie Murphy, yes. Zeta Jones and Michael Darling, John Rivers' daughter. Actually, Mr. Bass's daughter, which Mr. Bass is one of the greatest donors for Northwell. So yes, a lot of celebrity weddings.
Right.
The Plaza.
So we worked together then. I left. I've always had him back in my mind. I went on LinkedIn, haphazardly found him on LinkedIn by accident, saw that he was running Northwell's culinary experience for everyone. And I was fascinated by it. I touched base with him. I said, Chef, you remember me? He didn't remember me. He said he did, but he didn't. But that's okay, because I remembered him. I asked him to be on. And so, Chef, tell a little bit about your background and then how you come out of the hotel business to now take over what at least I think is the most important place. When you're in a hotel, in a restaurant, when you're in a hospital, the last thing you think you're going to get good food. That's the last thing you think about. You just
And,
want
right, and let me add that Northwell Health is a company that has that owns a lot of the hospitals out and doctors' offices here in the New York, Long Island, tri-state area. So, Bruno?
Anthony, that's a very long question you asked. First of all, my background, I went to hotel school in Europe. And then in a nutshell, I worked for Michelin 3-star chefs in France, for chefs such as Michel Guérard, Roger Verger, Alain Chapelle. And in 1983, I came to open up a restaurant in San Francisco for Alain Chapelle, who was in the mid 80s probably the best chef in the world, quote unquote. I mean, it's the journalists who are saying that's not me, because I'm sure that there is a lot of great chef in the world, and it was just, a title. So I opened up his restaurant in 83 in San Francisco. We got 3.5 star in the San Francisco Chronicle with Patricia and Torman. And so we got very busy right away. Then I moved on to Ernie's restaurant, which was the only mobile 5-star for 31 consecutive years in the United States.
Wow.
Time. And then I was, I came to open up a French restaurant in the Upper West Side in 87 in New York City. And that fell through because it was a little bit after the stock market crash. And in 89, I was hired at the Plaza Hotel. And in 1990, I became the youngest executive chef of the Plaza Hotel. I stayed there from until 2003. 2003, I moved to California to another Fairmont Hotel, because in the meantime, the Plaza Hotel became a Fairmont Hotel. And I went to the Sonoma Mission Inn, which this was, a resort, but Fairmont wanted to make it one of the finest resorts in the wine country. And we received a Michelin star in 2009. And in 2017, I joined Northwell. So basically, my career is about close to 40 years in the hotel restaurant industry before joining Northwell in 2017.
So the first natural question I got for you is, why leave hospitality? What was so appealing about this particular challenge that you took on?
Well, at the beginning, there was nothing exciting about it. As you can imagine, many healthcare company didn't really focus on food. And in the past, hospitals were not built with the intention of having great food. They didn't even build a functional kitchen or an adequate kitchen with adequate equipment. So going back forward, I came to this business a little bit by pure hazard. And again, it's related to the work that I had done at the Plaza Hotel. A friend of mine was the food and beverage director at the Plaza Hotel. Probably the food and beverage director that I respected the most during the 13 years that I was at the Plaza Hotel. And so I've listened to his story. He was working for Northwell, and that's how I joined Northwell. So back to the food. It's basically one thing that I was expecting when I joined the healthcare business is that the food would be terrible or not great, but I would have some impeccable, clean, well-organized kitchen with chefs in great white attires, and it was the complete opposite. So. And that's why I was telling Anthony it was quite a challenge to start, because it was not the the type of work that I used to do, but this was what I had to bring into the healthcare industry. And
it seems like a total reinvention of what you have to do to the hotels, to take a Michelin trained star chef and put it on hospitality. I mean, the hospital business seems very antithetical. I'm like, did you find it was like your mission to bring good tasting food that people are going to like, so hospitalizations wouldn't be as tragic for them?
Yes, I think that when I joined the industry, and one of the reasons why I left the hotel restaurant industry is not because I was not successful. It's just because I felt that there was something else for me to do in my life. And, after cooking for presidents and kings and queens and celebrities, and having to do it over and over again and better the next day than what I did the last day, it became a little bit, not stressful, but at the same time a little bit boring. And then you question, what have I accomplished in my life? And today, when I see the letters of some of our patients about, us making their last days a little bit more pleasant, and some of them taking food home with themselves. I mean, our CEO used to receive letters from patients telling him that I would not even serve that food to my dog. And now we have patients that are taking our food home.
That's amazing.
Exactly. So
yeah, Anthony, I know you got a question there, but I do want to say that it's very symbolic of what I think a lot of us go through. The whole notion of we do the same thing over and over again, and while it was satisfying at one point, the challenge starts to go away, and it starts to become repetitive, no matter how awesome of a job it might have been. So I definitely applaud you for wanting to take on a new challenge instead of just trying to coast to the career finish line and completely reinvent yourself in an area that is completely antithetical to what you had been doing until now. Anthony, sorry, please take it away.
No, Chef, did you want to say something to that?
Yeah, I was saying that, it was for me a new challenge in my life is, after, I spent about the interview process with Northwell lasted about 2 months. I've interviewed with about 10 executives from Northwell, and I put a lot of thought into it. And I say, at the end, I was extremely excited about taking on this new challenge and redefining food in healthcare, because I said this is one last thing that I can do in my career is I can give some joy to people who deserve it more than anybody else. Because listen, when you are in the hospital bed, when you're suffering, the first thing that the things that brightens your day is your meal, it's your food, and the patients are looking forward to that every day. And I see it in their eyes, because I myself walk the floor and I go to visit the patients and I ask them, how was their meal? What can we do better? And I really enjoyed not only the challenge, but the reward. I had some experiences where people just, I became actually very emotional. I could not even say another word, because people were just telling me that we had made their last day or whatever, the last few weeks that they still had to live more pleasant just with our food. So it's something very impacting, when you listen to patients who say that to you.
Well, they say in sports you leave it all on the field, and in the hospitality industry, and I call the hospital business, the hospitality industry as well. But you left it all on the field. I mean, there's really not much more for you to have accomplished. This seems to be more of a calling, and it really is. Like, when you really think about it, this is something that should have been happening from the beginning. Listen, keeping people alive and keeping people healthy is the number one priority. But we all know, where do we all go for? And why are we suffering, all of us now, is that we can't go out to restaurants and bars in New York and California. We're jonesing for that. So where do we all go for comfort when we're sad? We go to food. Where do we all go to comfort to celebrate? We go to food and drink. So to be in a hospital at your lowest moment sometimes, and to have something that is prepared with love and dignity and warmth, I mean, just would change the way you feel. I remember when I broke my ankle and I was in the hospital, all I said to my wife was, I want my own room. Like, just having that one room to myself, I said, I don't care what it costs, I want my own room. And I got my own room, and it changed the way I thought. And even the food tasted better. It just, everything changed. So every little thing when you're in pain or you're suffering matters, especially food, what you're putting in your body.
So, Anthony, now that you can't go dining in New York, you can check in to Long Island Jewish and get yourself a great meal, by Bruno Tison's staff over there. Bruno?
Yeah, actually, we have 23 hospitals in Long Island, in Manhattan, or actually in New York State. Northwell is the largest employer in New York State. That was another challenge. We have about 73,000 employees and over 5,000 beds. So we do serve over 10 million meals a year.
Woo!
And then back to your question, Anthony, I think that food is health, and great food helps you to recover and heal faster.
And you mean physically and mentally, right?
Exactly. And again, when I started at Northwell, I was reading the letters from the patient, and I said, my God, forget about serving good food. Just the bringing the food to the right floor and serving it on time was a challenge. Sometimes the food would arrive on the floor and the food would not be served for about an hour or two, and it still does happen here and there because of what we go through. You imagine right now with COVID-19, what's going on, and some of the emergencies we have to deal with and coordinate, and that's the area where we have to pull ourselves up and resolve the issue. We want to give our patients, and that's my duty, and it's our duty for. I rehired about in the past 3 years. I hired about 14 new executive chefs. Most of them all of them have worked in the hotel restaurant business. Some of them are Michelin star chef. I brought some of my people that I've worked with in the past to help me move a little bit faster through the process. But this is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to redefine food in healthcare, not only about the quality of the food, but from the time you receive your tray. We are re-engineering all the trays, because most of the food was served on disposable paper plates and plastic forks. You could not even cut your chicken with it. So we're switching everything to beautiful china, silverware, cloth napkins, and it changed the experience, the eating experience. And despite the fact that you're not wasting all this paper, cardboard, styrofoam, plastics, and you're saving or preserving the earth, if I may say, it really adds to your dining experience. We have redesigned our menus. I'm trying to design menus that do not look like a hospital menu. I want the patient to read the menu and to feel like he's in a restaurant. He's reading a restaurant's menu. Our menus had not changed for 10 years, 15 years. Some hospitals have the same menu for 10, 15 years. Can you believe? Now we're changing menus twice a year, fall, winter, spring, summer. The menu reads exactly like a restaurant menu. There is a lot of choices. There is a little story and the background about the executive chefs. We talk about the farmers and the growers that we partner with, mostly from Long Island or New York State. We talk about our vegetable and herb garden. We have 7 hospitals that have a vegetable and herb garden, either on their roof or back. So, and we have, volunteers that grow vegetable and herbs for our patients, and we're just taking it to the next level. And then we're trying to refine the way we serve the food. The first time coming from the hotel business, the first time I observed an employee serving the food to a patient, and basically what they're doing is they're doing what they've been taught. They've been taught to ask the patient's name and birth date. And they would enter the room with the tray and says, name and birth date, drop the tray and leave. And I said, well, what about saying, hey, good morning, Mr. Melchiori. The chef has prepared your lunch. Here's beautiful roasted chicken with mashed potato and fresh broccoli. Please let me know if there is anything else I can do for you. And then when they come back and pick up the tray, how was your lunch? Did you enjoy? Oh, you didn't finish your lunch. Well, what happened? Can I bring you something else? The other day I received a letter from a nurse, and she had to escort out a patient who really had some major health issues and stayed in our hospital for a couple of weeks. And when that patient left, there was a limo who was supposed to pick him up. And so the nurse had to wheel him out of the hospital. And while she was wheeling him out, she started to smell chicken. And then she realized that there was a little napkin, a paper napkin, sticking out of his pocket. And she told the gentleman, it was an older gentleman, and she says, "Is that chicken that you have in your pocket?" So this gentleman was kind of a little bit embarrassed, and he says, "Oh my God," he says, "yes, it is." He says, "But the food is so good over here, I just don't want to leave it behind." So she wheeled him out in the lobby entrance of the hospital, and the limo wasn't there yet. She called the kitchen, she ordered another chicken, and brought it to the guest. And he ate the chicken while waiting for the limo. And she wrote me this beautiful letter, and she says, "Bruno, you could not believe that this patient, despite the major health problem that he had, and hopefully he will survive, how happy he was and how much he enjoys his chicken. And for about 10, 15 minutes, he was in another world."
That's amazing.
You know what?
That's today my pride.
Right.
That is a calling. And what you're doing, I mean, there's so many things to unwrap there. But first of all, thank you, Chef, for doing that. Thank you for being who you are. You have the same passion you had when you were in the kitchen at the Plaza in 1990. And that's why I always tell people, passion changes everything. And one of the questions I was going to ask you, I just want to make the statement that when you're in surgery and you have all these nurses and all these doctors and all this machinery, you don't see the brilliance of these doctors. You just know that when you're done, hopefully you're better. And then you're like, "Oh, thank you very much. That was amazing. They seem to be great doctors." And you go home. The great thing about food is you can see the love. You can taste the love. You can smell the love. You can see that beautiful moment of them coming in and saying, "Here's your mashed potatoes and the broccoli, and this is where it was, and this is the chef." Like, that matters. So you can see the professionalism that, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Wow, these doctors are made." The doctors even get better because the food got better. And that is what this is about, and this is what hospitality is about. One of the questions I was going to ask you, and you said it.
Can I say something, Anthony, before
Sure.
you have a question?
Sure.
Cooking is an act of love. I cooked all my life, and the last thing I want to do when I come home is to cook. And I only cook for my friends during the holidays or on special occasion. And it's true, cooking is an act of love.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is, and you proved that over your career. And the thing I was going to ask, and you kind of answered it, but I want to make sure we underline this. When they hire someone like you, and you're obviously a big name in our industry, you come into a different industry. The shock to people in this system that now this gentleman, I don't know, this gentleman is like, I was very lucky that my first chef was you. So everybody was compared to you my whole life. But I got the high standard. I got the high standard quickly. So I knew what a chef was immediately. When you're working in an environment and you don't really understand what a chef is, you don't understand systems, you don't understand that you're doing this with love. And then all of a sudden here comes, Chef Bruno, which is pretty intense. And I saw you brought your own people in. There must have been a lot of shell-shocked people and a lot of people that maybe didn't make it because they didn't understand what it was to try for excellence every single day.
Well, Anthony, it's a very good question and a very good remark. But for the past 3 years that I've been at Northwell, I've been able to attract the most talented chef that I would have even hired at the Plaza Hotel or anywhere else I worked. I'm hiring hotel chefs right now, hotel restaurant chefs who have a lot of experience with cooking. I'm basically staying away from, the chefs who've worked in clubs and institutional establishments.
Right.
We want talented people. And you know what? These people had the same feeling as me at the beginning, and they got a little bit scared. I said, healthcare, do you think I can make it in healthcare? And I says, yes, you can do it. I need people like you. This is what your role is going to be. you're going to change people's life. You're going to make people happier. You're gonna make people feel comfortable to now come to a hospital, and not only to have healthcare, but also have a decent meal. And they all now enjoy this part of their work. It's just amazing how they transitions so well and understand. They understand their role and the goal of that, of what we are doing. We have, again, it is not fair for a patient, because I don't think there is a difference between a hotel customer and a patient in a hospital. They both have to have a comfortable bed, clean sheets, clean room, quiet room to sleep, pleasant nurses, good service, great engagement for the staff. It's just that they come to be cured from something, or to have a surgery or some type of care. And in a hotel is a different, it's a more pleasurable experience. But at the end, we still have a customer that needs attention and service. And it is something that that team has helped me to change, and they are really now believing in what they're doing. There was a progress. It didn't happen over a month. I had a couple of chefs after 6 months. They call me and it says, I don't know if this is for me. I mean, and as you can imagine, the staff in our kitchens, for the past 20 years was very, very disengaged. I mean, we didn't hire qualified staff. I'm not talking about Northwell. I'm talking about any healthcare institution in the United States or in the world. We did not look at food as an asset, or as something that can heal and cure people. We looked at food was considered as a cost, as a liability. We didn't look at it as an advantage. And now we're changing that. We're making it an asset for our hospitals, because again, there is a lot of healthcare company over here in this area. There is many hospitals, but it's like when you go to a store and you're going to buy an iPhone. You can buy it from Verizon, you can buy it from Sprint, you can buy it from AT&T, but the store is going to offer you a little cookie and an espresso is the store where you're going to go and buy your iPhone. And I think that Northwell today, because of the vision of our CEO Michael Darling and his request for redefining food in healthcare, is that what drives us, and moves us forward, and also what will make the difference for you to choose Northwell versus another healthcare company.
So
That's awesome, Anthony.
Chef, let me ask you a question. Is this a one-off, like your organization is doing this, or is this a trend through healthcare? Are you seeing this all throughout healthcare?
No, Anthony. And this is another reason why I love this challenge, is because, remember, I told you that Northwell is the largest employer in New York State, with 73,000 employees, 23 hospitals, and we serve over 10 million meals a year. There is a few hospitals in the United States that have done that on a smaller scale and even better than us. But there were always, small boutique hospital, 200 rooms. It's a little bit like when you compare the Ritz-Carlton to a Hilton. Ritz-Carlton is the lower quality. Hilton, they don't even serve food anymore. They don't even have to hire a chef. They outsource everything. You go into a Hilton rooms, you're going to find 10 menus from the businesses around. Mm-hmm. So I think that what I admire about Northwell, and again, the vision of our CEO, Michael Darling, he wasn't afraid to take on that challenge for such a large organization. And we're probably the only organization in the United States that have taken that challenge and of redefining food for 23 hospitals. And I'm telling you, I've been here for 3 years. We've done tremendous progress, but I have work for the next 10 years.
Wow.
There's a lot of work. There's a lot of things we can improve, and I think it's very rewarding to see that.
Yeah, so got a couple of questions coming in. First is that a chicken in your pocket? No, Andy, we're just really happy you're watching No Vacancy Live. All right, but more seriously, one of the questions that we have here is: did you find any specific challenges when you were trying to move the food better? How did the institution itself support you, or maybe inadvertently keep certain blockades in place that created more challenges for you?
Well, as you can imagine, in such a large organization, yes, there is some resistance, there is some challenges as soon as you want to change something. There is a lot of question, a little bit of resistance, and the financial aspect of it is always something to take into consideration. So we've tried to change things progressively, making sure that we would not increase the cost of food, or we would just, increase it, at the same rate as the increase of cost of living. But I would say that I am pretty happy with the cooperation I've received. There is always those that will jump on the boat with you and follow you. There will be always those that, we still have some doctors, that, I don't know that are smokers and overweight. And these people, sometimes may or may not think that food is important in hospitals. We do still have people who think that, good food in a hospital is not that important. People think that people come here to have healthcare and to be treated. But I'm the type of person that believes that good food will help you recover faster.
Right.
And so it's you have to balance it out. I proceeded very progressively. I worked at the beginning. I focused more and mostly on the people and the teams that wanted to work with me. And as the score moved up, because our food score quality are measured by a company called Presgene, and I can show you this draft over here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you see on this draft. This is all my hospitals, and you're rated from 0 to 100%. And you can see over here we have 5 hospitals that are rated above 90 percentile.
Wow.
3 years ago, Northwell was here, and so this is something that I look at every day, every week, and it gives me a reason to continue to move forward with that.
And to move an organization that big relatively quickly says a lot about you and the team you put together. It's always about the team you put together, because you can't do it obviously by yourself. And I'm telling you something, if I was going into a hospital that I wasn't forced to go to because of the emergency, I fell off a ladder and broke my ankle and had to go wherever they sent me. But if I had a choice and I knew I was going to have an operation, and I knew, honestly, right now, you sold me. So if I know I can go to the Northwell Hospital, I'm going, because I know the food's going to be better. And listen, I know the surgery is going to happen. I'm going to be out. Most of my time in the hotel is waiting for my food to come. And usually it's waiting for my food to come so I can throw it in the garbage.
Yes, that was the things of the past here in Northwell.
And Chef, I'll tell you, it's the smell. What gets me is this food smell when I come in. When I'm sitting in the bed and that food comes in, I just want to. It reminds me of when I was in basic training. I don't want to be there. So the smell of the food is what I remember from my hospital stays.
I know. Isn't it terrible when you're in a hospital and you can't eat properly? Because the main thing again is what you eat will make you healthy or healthier.
Now, Chef, one of the things that we talked a lot about is hospitality is really going into the healthcare industry, and in a lot of ways they're trying to be more like the hotel business. But it also sounds like one of the challenges you have is dealing with new people that you bring in that have the built-in hospitality mindset versus folks that have been inculcated into the institutional mindset. And it also sounds like some of those people aren't able to make that transition. How do you get people to make that transition that have been able to successfully change their minds from this is the way we've always done things, so we're always going to do those things, to opening their minds to the way that you want to do things, which is much more amenable to creating memorable expectations for customers?
Yes, you kind of said it. It's like in any business, you will get a little bit of resistance at the beginning. My approach with the 14 executive chefs that I've hired over the past 3 years, first of all, is to surround ourselves. Anybody else that we rehire, we try to hire great people. We have now instituted a cooking test for executive chef, executive sous chef. And they have the right, if they want to hire a cook, a simple cook 1 or cook 2, if they want to do a cooking test, they can do that. I think it's you have to balance it out, and it's part of being a great executive chef or also a great businessman, is you first start to work with the people that want to cooperate with you. You always find in a group of people those that are excited to do something new, people who were tired of cooking bad food, and they see suddenly a great chef and they're going to follow his lead. So you start to work with these people, you start to get results, you start to get better scores. And I think the rest of the crowd feels a little bit, at least those who are not the followers, start to be left alone. And I think that slowly at the time they will convert, and we will be able to change their mind in regards to the importance of food for our patients. And from time to time, you do have to terminate somebody. Somebody who really doesn't want to understand what he has to do. Somebody who's a troublemaker. You've got to do it. It comes with the job. It comes with the work, and the position, and that's our duty. If we want to move forward and change food in healthcare, we have to fix it.
Yeah, and you're bringing a pride to the organization, to the chefs, that if you're a chef in a fine dining restaurant, or you're a chef at the Plaza Hotel, you walk into a room, it's like there's the chef who's the executive chef at the Plaza. You're a 4-star general. If you're like, oh, here's the chef at the hospital, you're like, okay, whatever. You're bringing pride back to Culinary, bringing it into the hospital. So now if I know a chef that's out on the street looking for a job, because unfortunately there's a lot, I would be proud, if I know it's a great chef, to say, hey, I know a guy, I know Chef Bruno at Northwell, maybe go take a look at it. Whereas before I would never, ever think of sending one of my friends who I think is a great chef to a hospital to be a chef. So you're really doing a lot, not only for the hospital and not only for the patients, but for your chosen path in life to culinary.
Just for the industry. I mean, right now, one of the first things that the 14 chefs that I've hired in the past 3 years are telling me, including myself, if I would have still be in the hotel restaurant business, I would have been out of the job for the past year. So, Northwell and or healthcare, the healthcare industry has been great to us, and we have to be very thankful. We have a job. We have pretty much a secure job if you perform well. And another thing that I wanted to say, Anthony, is that what we have been doing over the past 3 years at Northwell has been heard, and the quality of the resumes of the applicants that I am getting is just unbelievable. I'm getting resumes from people who worked in Michelin star restaurants, at the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons, the Hotel. I'm getting great resumes. Not only, and I don't think it's due to the fact of this pandemic and that a lot of hotel and restaurants are closed. I think it's due to the fact that a lot of chefs are looking at healthcare as another alternative for their career, but also because they have heard of what we are doing at Northwell with food.
Right. And if you want to get back into the hotel business and restaurant business eventually, when you work under a chef like you got cred. I worked at a hospital and I worked at Northwell, but I worked for you. I mean, I got major street cred when I go back, if I decide to go back into the hospital, into the hotel business. So you've really elevated. And that's what was fascinating when I saw your name and I saw what you were doing. It's like it changes everything. It's again, we go back to the heavenly bed, and everybody's like, it's the bed, stupid. Well, so now everybody has these beautiful beds, and it was all about the bed. It's the food. It's when you're in a hotel, when you're in a hospital, you're spending more time in your bed eating than you are in an operation when you're sedated. So it's an easy, not an easy, your job's not easy, but it's an easy way to show a patient that, yeah, we have great doctors and nurses and great healthcare professionals, but we care about your food. It is important to us. It is really, really important to us. So, I mean, I was excited about talking to you, but now I'm like over the moon because I know this conversation, and we get over 750,000 listeners a month. So I know that this conversation is going to go to a young culinary professional that's a little dejected and said, you know what, I can't get a job. And they're going to say, ooh, let me think about Northwell. Let me think about healthcare. Let me think about a different venue that I wouldn't have thought about. So
we're looking for young, talented people.
And also, Chef, that a person that has been, and again, unless you're a chef in one of these big kitchens or in these Michelin star chef kitchens, you don't understand what the chef's gone through. You have no idea. I've been on the sidelines of it. And I would literally be, in a doorway in pain just watching it. It is so intense. It is so at another level. It is a level that most people can't dance at. It's you're a superhero to me. And then to bring that kind of discipline, that kind of discipline and that kind of strength and experience to sick people in the hospital where they don't want to be. When you're going to a hotel or a restaurant, people want to be there. People want to eat that food. People want to dance and celebrate. You're in a place where people don't want to be. So to get a surprise that's good food, to see you in your all whites, we were looking at pictures that we're going to bring up at the end, to see you in your whites, to hand someone food in a hospital bed, knowing your background, literally made me giddy. Because it's such a weird thing to see a chef of your caliber handing a patient food. And why should it be something that's so weird? Why couldn't we have done this 50 years ago?
Yes, I agree with you. It was needed. No, it's again, it's a great reward for me. Like I said, I needed to do something different in my career. I wanted to impact the life of people. I wanted to do something that really helps our community. I've been working all my life. I've never been out of work. I work 6 days a week, 7 days a week. For 40 years, my wife told me, says, you've never spent Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving with us in family. I never did. I was always working. And today, it's the time for me to to do something different, but also to to create a better experience for our patients.
You can't make a more impactful in your career, whether this is your last job, you cannot make a more impactful job, period. Because not only, again, I'm going to reiterate this, not what you're doing for your hospital, not what you're doing for the patients, what you're doing for young chefs coming up, that you've given them another lifeline. You've given them another, to be respected. To be a chef in a hospital is not to be second tier, but if you're doing it, then I can do it.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
Chef, before we head towards wrapping up, one question for you. You're bringing all this great food. How does it affect your overall budget compared to when you first started? Is it negligible? Is it considerably more?
No,
have you found ways to economize and spend less?
Well, we are very careful. We haven't been actually spending more money because, when I first arrived here 3 years ago, our freezers were full. We could not even walk into our freezers. Today, because of what we did, we converted to fresh food. We threw away canned food, frozen food, processed food. My chefs, some of our hospitals are ahead of budget. They are saying me that, we don't really have a way of calculating a food cost per meal per patient because, we haven't invested in that part of the business yet, but we have a global idea of what we spend per year in terms of food. And, I mean, the increase has been very, very, how would I say?
Minimal?
Yes, minimal. I mean, just, the cost increase of living, between 2.5% per year. But what we have done is we have saved a lot of money on a lot of things. And I'll give you an example. When I first arrived at Northwell, that was the year before I arrived, and my friend who brought me in Northwell had worked on that for a couple of months. We were buying liquid coffee. So liquid coffee, first of all, tastes awful. You don't know where it comes from. You don't know if it's fair trade coffee. You don't know if it's rainforest coffee. They mix any type of coffee from anywhere in the world, and they package it in a way that it's so expensive because of the packaging and the machine that you need to use to make coffee. We switch it back to fresh coffee, and actually, we decided to buy the coffee from a company that supplied the Fairmont Hotel where I used to work before. And it's a great company, fair trade coffee, rainforest coffee, freshly brewed for our patients and our employees. And we saved $250,000 a year because we negotiated a price under $5 a pound for coffee.
Wow.
Wow. That's amazing.
Find me great freshly roasted coffee at under $5 a pound.
And I guarantee you that brain surgeon's about to go into surgery really, really appreciates that fresh cup of coffee. And I want to ask you about that. Like the cafeteria where all the doctors and nurses and employees eat, I would imagine that is a much better food product than it was. And they must be happy. The staff must be happy. The staff scores for food must be skyrocketing as well.
Well, I'm going to give you an example. We use GD Power. GD
Power.
We use Press Gene, which is the equivalent of GD Power. Press Gene is for hospital industry. GD Power is for the hotel industry. We do a survey every year, for our patients, and this is how they rate my food. But every year we do an employee survey. Our employee survey came back at 91%.
Wow.
73,000 employees. I think we had about 55,000 employees who took the survey. And Press Gene told us you're number one in the United States in the companies over 20,000 employees. Wow. So that is another example of the type of company that Northwell is. I'm the first one to say that it's a wonderful company to work with wonderful people. But not only that, we have now great chef that cooks better food, fresher food. We serve them, in my opinion, great food in our cafeteria. The food is very, very tasty. We see a lot of employees buying food to go home at night.
What? That's insane.
Wow. Yes. And so this is, again, to reflect on, the vision that Northwell Health has, not only for its patient, but also for its employees.
Yeah, Chef, excellence wins. Horst Schulze wrote a book called Excellence Wins. And it's true. And you were my first example. Again, we didn't have a lot of conversations. I was in your kitchen. You're the executive chef, so I dealt with a lot of your employees. But just watching the way you went about it and also listening to the stories that if you went to your office, you better have your stuff together. And I learned that go ahead. I learned that from the chef the most. Right. That when you went into his office, he had this little office on the floor in the kitchen. When you went into his office, you better be prepared because he's going to have a lot of questions for you and he's going to make you accountable. And I think that is the most important lesson that I learned from just watching the chef is being accountable and excellence wins. So my question to you, Chef, is you have a book coming out?
No.
Please,
the great
favorite, write one.
I would love to write one. I would love to write a book about great food in hospital or in healthcare, because again, there is absolutely no problem to cook and prepare great food in a hospital. A lot of time when I first started, I heard, well, you're going to have to work with dietitians, you're going to have to work with nutritionists, you're going to have to work with special diets and no salt and this and that. It's not true. You can cook great food. I don't like salty food, and I cook with almost no salt at home, and what I taught to my chef and what I request to my chef now, besides that, the menu needs to read like a restaurant menu, that we use a lot of fresh herbs, a lot of spices or whatever is needed, and then we emphasize fresh herbs and the clean taste of food. And that's what we're doing. If you use good product, and it's another thing, I'm partnering with a lot of great companies. We're trying to buy local product from Long Island or New York State or within a 200 miles area. All the meat, beef and lamb, is all grass-fed, antibiotic free. My chef can only buy wild line caught fish under $10 a pound. And we are now working on the program with a New York State steelhead farm and a salmon farm in Nova Scotia, which is called Sustainable Blue, that uses the RAS system, which is recirculating aquaculture system, and BAP certified, which is best aquaculture practices, because as you know, we need to protect our ocean from pollution, from overfishing, and for poor farming practices. So I'm trying to buy fish that are land farm because there is no danger for the environment. We're trying to...
Sorry, guys.
All right.
Sorry.
It has a little bit of a style to our interview. I am taking food beyond serving or buying food. I am trying to not only give business to the local farmers and growers of Long Island and New York State, but I'm trying to buy clean.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing with our Green Forest coffee, with our wild line caught fish, grass-fed beef, antibiotic, hormone-free chicken, the whole thing. The whole 9 yards. We are reviewing everything one by one. Our chefs are making their own stock. Our chefs are making their own soup. 3 years ago, everything was in can or frozen.
Wow. Chef, you're also rebuilding our area, whether it be the farms, whether it be the small businesses, whether it be the people that don't have jobs. So thank you for that. And I would imagine one day someone's going to come after you to run our education system, New York City Public Schools for food, because we need that in our school system as well.
Absolutely.
But, we're coming to the end of the show, but that you accepted our invitation means a lot to me. Like I said, you don't remember me, but you've made a lot of.
Of course, I do remember you, Anthony.
You made a lot of imprints on me, and if I've had any success, it's because of people like you. And also, the food and beverage director you speak of, is it Mark Huntley?
Well, no, it's Jacob. Mark Huntley.
I didn't work with him. I didn't know him.
Okay. Well, Mark is still my best friend, and he's the general manager of the Fairmont in Washington, D.C., and also the regional executive director for about 5 or 6 Fairmonts.
I had my assistant work for him. She worked for him first, and she always says, "You're my number 2 favorite person I've ever worked for." Mark Huntley was her first. I can never jump over the Mark Huntley barrier. He was my first food and beverage director that I looked up to. Tom Mark Huntley, all those people, and they all made a real big imprint in my life.
Even Trump hired me and Mark Huntley at the same time.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a great guy. He's a great.
Yes.
He's a great
guy. About Mark, guys.
Although he's English, but he's great.
You're French, but I still like you.
Before we let Chef go, we've got a quick picture that we want to post of you from a little flashback photo with you and Shields.
Where was that, Chef?
That was during March of Dime.
We're at the Plaza?
Yes.
Yeah. We saw her. I don't know if you were with me, Glenn, but we saw her last year at the Forbes thing,
Yes.
and she was the host. She was amazing.
Yeah, that was
Amazing.
the one. That was in 2019. She was at. We had Marissa Tomei was at the 2020 event. But she was really good. She was very, very funny, very animated in a way that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, funny as hell. But Chef, one of the things about what people don't understand, like you said, you've probably cooked for more queens, kings, princesses, and presidents than any human being alive. Maybe you and the chef at the Waldorf are maybe tied.
Could be. One time I tell you a story. I was flown in to cook for the King of Morocco and train his staff for a week. And that happened in one day. I had the food and beverage director of the Plaza Hotel walked into my office and he says, the King of Morocco, and he didn't say His Highness, but the King of Morocco is requesting your assistant for 1 week. It's either you go or we lose the business.
Right. And just so you know,
I was on the plane.
Being the front office manager and in charge of that area, I can tell you 1 week when the King of Morocco was in town was $2 million, literally $2 million for a week. He took the kitchen, he took the floors, he put his own furniture in. So it cost $2 million. I remember counting $1 million in cash in the VIP office.
I know. So when he used to stay there for 2 weeks, he used to come for business during the United Nations for 1 week, and then he would take a week off because actually I had built a relationship with him. Obviously, he spoke French very well, and he was a fine, very refined gourmet. He drove me a little bit crazy. I remember one morning, he called me and he asked me to do 2 birthday cakes for the 2 princesses, each one for about 250 people. So you imagine my pastry chef's face when I went back to the pastry shop and says, well, we've got to do 2 birthday cake, 6 feet high for 250 people. So it was that
was anytime the King of Morocco was in town, I ran the front office, you ran the kitchen, and it was, man, we were all intense. That was a great time. But I will tell you, they left nice tips behind for the front desk. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yes, they did.
They were very generous people. And I will tell you a quick story, and then we got to go. But there was a princess. I don't know if she was from Morocco. I don't know where she was from. But I remember it was we couldn't find great grapes. It wasn't in season. I had to go get them. So it was like 2:00 in the morning. I'm running around New York City. I'm the night manager. I find the grapes or whatever she wanted. I come up to her room. It was like one of those, 323, 423, one of those big suites. And she's sitting on the couch, and she has her head back, and I put the fruit there because I was asked to put the fruit there. I put the fruit there in a beautiful plate, and she literally, swear to God, true story, she opened her mouth, so I had to feed her the grapes. I swear to God, I fed her the grapes, and then when it was done, I didn't know what to do, and she was like, somebody escorted me out of the room. And I remember going into the hallway. I just sat in the corner of the hallway, my hand over my face, and I felt like I was in a movie. When you work at a great hotel, when you're around all kinds of people, you and I could write 17 books. It's just,
oh my God, yes, I can. I can tell you stories that we would have to say that off the air, but
right. But the good news about people like us is we don't tell stories out of school. When you come into our hotels, it's like our home. So I will never write anything in a book that makes anybody look bad because it's, I'm blessed to be in this business and people to trust us. So, Chef, thank you so much for trusting us with your time. I know you're a busy person. And, I hate to say this, but I don't want to get sick. But if I do, I'm going to go to North.
I'm almost looking forward to my next hospitalization.
I hope so. You know where to reach me.
Thank you, Chef.
All right. Thank you, Chef. We really appreciate you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, Anthony. Happy holiday. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Glenn.
Bye-bye. All right. That was awesome, Anthony. I'm so glad you connected with him. It's so great to see that hospitals are taking a more serious look at food these days.
Look, man, I say this over and over again. I am the hardest critic on this show. Me and you are the hardest critics of the show. And this show is getting better. When you have a person like him on the show, and he's so, so articulate and ability to really convey information is amazing. You don't have to say anything. You just let him talk. And he is When I tell you he really did, and I didn't realize it until I saw him back on the show today, I didn't realize what an impact he was on me. And he's maybe still in the green room listening, but he was a little scary. And I remember going into the kitchen, you better have your shit together. You do not go in his office unless you have your stuff together. And there's people, especially early on, there's some people can't work for people like him. People can't work for people like me. We have high standards. And when I met someone like that, I was like, I'm not crazy. Like everything matters. And that he's bringing this professionalism, this skill. Think about what he said. I meant to say it to him and I forgot. Think about what he said. All canned foods, all frozen foods, all processed foods are gone. Are gone out of a kitchen in a hospital. So you don't really need to cook when you open up a can and throw it in an oven, or in a stove. So you have to cook now. You have to be a real chef. And to think you can go into a hospital and not have processed foods, insane, absolutely insane. But that says a lot about the leadership of Northwell to bring someone his qualities and to bring other people under him of that high quality says a lot about the executive team at Northwell.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible show. So let's wrap this up today. But we got one more question for you. Alan Peterson is asking: are you strongest front of house, equally strong the back end of the house? What did you?
I would say that I am not. I'm a food and beverage guy in the sense of I'm a good hotel general manager, food and beverage guy. I'm not a food and beverage guy like Mark Huntley or Bruno, obviously. But I would say my best skill is making budget. I know how to bring everything full circle to make budget. So I don't need to look at my P&L and I don't need to look at my budget. I can just, by walking around, talking to my team, understanding what's going on. So I'd say my best skill is when I look at an owner in the eye and I say, hey, this is the number we're going to hit at the end of the year. We're going to hit that number. Right. We don't know what's going on. We're going to hit that number.
Right. Awesome. All right. One more show note. We are going to be on tomorrow. I see some people saying great end of the week, but it's only Tuesday. We got one more day that we're going to do this week. Don't you worry about it. We'll be back here tomorrow. For those of you who can't watch the show live, make sure you download our audio versions of these great shows that you're watching every single day. You can find it Checking In with Anthony and Glenn or No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman, wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. We're on all of those platforms. Please, for Christmas, do us a favor, share the show with your friends, with your colleagues, even people that you don't know. We don't care. We just want to be able to share the love with them too. Anthony, any final thoughts?
No, sir. Just I just love when we have guests like this. It just inspires me, and he opened up a whole new area for chefs to go and work.
Yep, absolutely incredible. And you know this trend is going to go across country soon enough. As soon as people realize he's proven it already. All right, everybody, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Text the word hotel to 66866. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and